Welcome back to the Color of Money podcast, friends. Now, today I'm joined by Dr. Denise King, the president of Genesis LLC. She's an executive leader, pastor, and organizational strategist with over 25 years of real-world experience across all kinds of Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and faith-based organizations. Now, Dr. King has worked at the intersection of technology, leadership, and purpose, from Oracle and Medtronic to United Healthcare Group and organizations serving at-risk communities. She's built teams, led complex programs, coached executives, and spent years guiding leaders through pressure-filled decisions. Now, what sets her apart is her range. She's almost like the utility knife, right? She's been in the boardroom, the system side, and inside of the community, so she knows what real leadership looks like. Now, today we're going to be breaking down leadership, execution, and what really actually separates leaders who talk from leaders who actually deliver. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Dr. Denise. Great to have you.
Thank you, Daniel. It's nice to be here. I appreciate it.
Now, like we talked about, we want to lean into your experience around leadership and around what you've experienced on your journey on. And what I like to do with these kind of conversations, we've all seen the books that have the titles and the topics, right? But I want to get in the nitty gritty. Like, what do you see? What's the difference that you see in the nonprofits you've been a part of and the big Fortune 500 organizations? What are some of the trends, patterns, and things that we can use, that our listeners can use to help become better leaders and grow their businesses?
I think one of the things that has transversed both the business sector and the nonprofit sector for me is people development and relationship building. Even if you are a manager or a leader of people in some aspect, you need to get to know your people. It's not so much like forcing what you want, but building that relationship will help you get what you want as far as productivity, when you get to know the people that you're working with and understand what's important for them, and then build that into that working relationship. I think there's ways to just be real, transparent to a point, but building that relationship will help you lead and guide them in the right way.
So, what I hear you say is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the leadership style that we exhibit or that we use in this day and age, we absolutely have to have some type of emotional intelligence to be able to tap into people differently, because we're in a different time, we're in a different age, and the age barrier has become, I shouldn't say the age barrier, the age difference in leadership styles and the way that we interact with people is becoming a lot more apparent, because I myself, I'm over 60. So the way that I do things as a 60-year-old, and it's worked well for me, going into a space of the new leader that may be in their early 40s, early 30s, you can't have that same conversation with them the same way, because you have to have a certain level of emotional intelligence to figure out where they're coming from before you can even talk to them, because the conversation is not how can I say it? The conversation does not convert the same way as the way I was taught leadership and the way that they're living leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I first entered like the workspace, it was top down for sure. It didn't matter what you thought. This is your assignment. This is what you're going to do, and just do it. And now our society, we're built on choice. And so now people are more willing to speak up and to talk about what they want to do, what they don't want to do. But I think as a leader, if we pull those things out of an individual, it helps us better prepare them for a path where they can feel successful, and then we can be successful overall as a team. And I think when we do that, I mean, it requires us to listen, for one. And maybe not everything that they want or desire can be attained in one position, but we can help build upon their skills, help identify areas of weakness where they maybe need some work, and be able to set those things in place for them to grow.
You know what? I just thought of something. Y'all gonna steal this. I'm ready. We're gonna start calling this timeout leadership. Because when we were growing up, we didn't know such thing as timeout. You did what you were told to do, or you got the stick, right?
Yeah.
Now we have timeout leadership where we have to be sensitive to say, did you think about this? And how can we do this better? And how does this work better? And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it really is just coming back to we have to exhibit timeout leadership because it's just two different schools of thought.
Yes. Yeah. And I think like one of the positions that I was in, I was given an assignment to work with my boss's brother-in-law. Yes. We were on the same team, and his brother-in-law was not picked to lead the project. So it's automatic conflict there. And so what I had to learn is that IQ factor, that get in and understand where he's at, find that sweet spot, because that's how you're going to be able to work with him and be able to, appreciate him for what he knows and show him that, and still be able to get him to follow directives based on what we need overall. And so that intro was quite the builder for me. It was a building point. And so learning to take that, I won't say back seat, but that peer seat, and really delve into his personality and what he needed validation to be able to move him forward.
That's a funny thing. That's the extreme part. What I see in this space is that may have been that person, but that's the next generation, period. Because they're coming into this space, particularly into middle level management, believing that they really should be upper level management without the skills and tools to be upper level management. So they come into middle level management and they want to tell you what they're going to do and what they're not going to do and how they're going to do it. And you sitting around looking like, pump your brakes, Sparky. You still got some work to do. But they want everything now. So that was your situation with him. And that's really the situation with just that next tier of leaders, which is really interesting because I think it's part of it is everything has been so immediate for them. They believe that life works in the immediacy of their timeline and not the timeline of what's prescribed to build the skills to really have the change of an effect that you really should have in that space. So
I don't know if you want to call it a limiting belief or a controversial thought, but I think that leading W-2s is very different than leading entrepreneurs. And the commitment with W-2s that have a job that went through the whole hiring process and leading real estate agents who can up and leave tomorrow to set brokerage at any time for any reason. How do you look at them differently? Do you coach them differently? Like, how do you agree with me? Am I completely wrong? What are your thoughts?
I think it is a different type of coaching because not everybody has the mindset of I can go and do this somewhere else, right? So you've got people that are W-2s that only want to grow within a company. They don't see themselves in a position of ownership or being entrepreneurs. That entrepreneur has to have some toughness there and a little bit more of this forming that they've done to say, I can do this here, I can do this there. So I think it's a different approach. It'd be a different approach to coaching or coaching the entrepreneur because they're not working for you, right? But what do you need to provide them and what are they looking for? I think everybody is looking for growth, I shouldn't say everybody, because everybody is not looking for growth. I shouldn't say that.
Should be looking for growth. Should be looking for growth. Right.
Whether they're W-2 or entrepreneurs. I mean, we should be ever learning, because there's always something that's going to help us prepare for the next situation or the next climate or season we're going to find ourselves in. So I don't think we can stop learning, but it's a different type of learning. For that entrepreneur, and it's the same for W-2's character building, because you have people that get someplace, but their character doesn't have the capacity to hold them there. They have significant character flaws when they arrive or attain at a certain level. And so that character building is essential for both. The ability to hear and listen. I mean, listening is a skill that I think is not valued as much, but it's essential if you are in the room to be able to understand and to hear the different perspectives so that you know how to navigate. Some people are so focused on, let me present myself. That's how I'm going to make it. But sometimes that's, as an entrepreneur, you can go into the room and you can start off like that, but that can be a turnoff, because immediately the person that you're trying to get to is like, man, I've seen that. Like, I've seen that.
Yeah. And that comes in as saying this thing I've heard: what got you in the room may not keep you in the room.
Exactly.
What got you in the room may not keep you in the room. And the other thing, like Daniel, you were talking about the difference in entrepreneur and W-2. One of the things, and you guys tell me what you think. One of the things that I believe that's really important with that the entrepreneur is to understand their goals. Because most entrepreneurs are goal driven. So just understanding their goals of where they want to go. And then you have to ultimately do an assessment of whether you're the person or your organization is the organization to help them get to their goals. And if it's not, either you're going to have to adapt and find something in your organization that's going to help them meet their goals, or you're going to have to part ways because of irreconcilable differences, because you can't help them get to where they want to go, and they want to get there. And at a certain point, they're going to become disruptive to the group because they're going to be frustrated. And I believe that with that entrepreneur, you really have to just really understand their goals. With an employee, with a W-2, you have to understand their goals too. Likewise, I don't believe it's going to be as disruptive, because they're there for a paycheck. At the end of the day, if you're paying me, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do, as long as you tell me to do, as long as you're paying me, which is a different conversation, a different mindset. The goal may not be, I'm not saying totally is not, the goal may not be as important as with an entrepreneur. So it's a different coach, it's a different conversation, it's a different relationship.
Yeah. And again, I think the entrepreneurial goals, trying to figure out what my next step is, how can I reach or attain this level of success, and what does success look like? For that W-2 person, it might be some of the same quote unquote things, but as far as a goal is concerned, their next step in the organization, again, you still got some people that want to grow, some people that don't. And so it might look different. And especially like now, what I see, the introduction of more AI into organizations and what impact that is having. And so either if you want to stay there, you're going to have to, with your leader or by yourself, create a growth plan. You're going to have to create a upskilling for yourself, or you might not be able to even stay in the same position you're in now.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because like when you're talking about W-2, I believe, and I haven't been a W-2 in a long time. So in that W-2 space, a W-2 can have incremental successes that mean a lot more to them than what the entrepreneur has, because you can, with a W-2, you can take a W-2 and you could say, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 more a year. And a W-2 might be happy with that. And when you talk to an entrepreneur and say, hey, next year you're going to make $5,000 more, and they're going to look at you like, what the hell am I going to do with that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So it just comes at them. It hits differently. And as a leader, you have to know, understand, and recognize that. And the question becomes, how do you serve both? Because there's no environment where they're all entrepreneurs, and there are environments where they're all W-2s. But when you're talking about entrepreneurs, there is a space where they're W-2s, and you as the leader of that group, you have to do a balancing act to make sure that you don't treat entrepreneurs like W-2s and W-2s like entrepreneurs, because they're thinking different. They come from two different sides of the spectrum. And like, I know where you're going, Daniel, with the whole entrepreneur thing, because I know where you're going. That conversation where you pour into an entrepreneur and you think you're providing them everything that they require, and then one day they wake up and say, I'm leaving.
It's that, but it's also like, and I wrote this note down for myself right now. When you think about W-2s, it's almost like they have organizational goals. They don't not that they don't have goals, but their goals are not directly tied to their outcomes. It's tied to organizational outcomes. Where our 1099 self-employed people, those are your goals and your outcomes. And people will work harder for other people and their goals, and they'll work harder for themselves and having them actually succeed. So it's interesting. I've got to think about in my organization, how do we help these people that have their personal goals and tie them to an organizational why, so they lean in a little bit more? Because if we can help them achieve what they want to achieve, we're going to get what we want. But there's a disconnect between effort, work ethic, intent, all those things when you're actually truly working for yourself.
When you say that, Daniel, and again, the world of real estate, if we just look at that piece of it, how would you look to say, I'm going to integrate my broker goals? Like, if you are the broker and you've got, staff, realtors under you in this brokerage, I mean, is there a way to better communicate overall goals, and then tie in a way for them to feel a part of that, more so a part of that, than them just working their goals? I need to sell 20 houses. I need to do this. Well, how can I help them see that this correlates not just in the numbers, but is it something that we can do as leaders to benefit them, right, a little bit more in connecting their goals with our overall brokerage goals?
Yeah, that was the aha for me, is how do we link it, and then how do we gamify it, and how do we look at, like, we want you to sell more houses because you're going to make more money, and this industry is going to completely change your life, but they can't see that. How do we tie it to, if you do this, then we do this, and we all win together, and everyone's happy? Yeah,
that's a conversation that we were having the other day, and one of the parts of that came to be where, let's just say you take the overall goal of the organization and you plug that person's goal into the organization. Let's just say our goal, I'm just going to throw a number, is $500 million this year. That person's goal is $10 million. So you're telling this person that your goal is 2% of the company's goal. When we help you hit your 2%, that gets us closer to our 100%, but here's the deal. I want you to get your 2%. So this is how we're going to help you plug in to get your 2% to overall affect the company's goal. And I think we have to have a different conversation with this group of real estate professionals, particularly because it is about them. At the end of the day, it's not about what your company's goals are. It's what are my goals? Am I reaching my goals? And then as long as I'm reaching my goals, you can get whatever you want. I just want mine. I want mine first. You can get yours. Let me get mine. And so I think, Daniel, that's the way that we really, in that space, we have to start having that conversation, incorporate what they want to do into what we do. Because if we don't start doing that, just like you said, they're going to fall off, they're going to lose interest, and they're going to find some other way to get what they want. But on the other end, what I'm finding, like for the W-2s and helping them meet their goals, and like you were saying, Dan, I think, Dan, you were alluding to the W-2, them having company goals, and they will put the company goals before their goals, and they may not get everything that they want. A lower base with a higher performance reward. And that's saying, and I found this to work exceptionally well. Yes, you're a W-2. You're a W-2, and I'm just throwing out a number. Your base is 30. I know you say you want 60, but you can get to 70 if you do these things.
Do you see these same problems in corporate America? Or are they different? Are they similar but different? Is it the same exact kind of thing? Or
I think there's some challenges there, of course, right? And I think they're similar. They're similar because you're trying to motivate for performance of overall goals. But the individual wants to feel tied in like they're going to achieve their internal goal, right? And so, especially when it's around pay,
Right.
most companies, you're lucky if you get 3% increase. So you have to find some other ways to be able to encourage and build for that person. And normally that is going to be through building skill and them being able to attain a higher level position.
A title.
Or take those skills and go to another company. Because at 3%, I mean, literally, you're just inching up, and not even like inching, you're just rolling over because it's not a lot there for an individual. But yet and still, they like that environment, or they're okay with that environment because it's what they're used to. It's what they're programmed for. It's what they're comfortable with. And so I'm okay with that, meaning the individual is okay with that. They're not going to be in the same mind space as the entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur says there is no limit to my increase. The entrepreneur says there are avenues for me to make more, and it's not dependent upon somebody giving me a 3% raise.
It's fascinating to me because I feel like just because you have a real estate license doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. You're still a W-2. And so like that was one of the biggest ahas that we got to think about. We got to meet people where they're at, like you said, and talk to them as they are and where their experience lies, because they're not ready to go make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 necessarily, because that's not even possible in the corporate world. That 3% increase is a big deal, but there's other ways that you celebrate that person and bring the community in and build their skills and so on.
Yeah. One of the groups that I work with now, their manager, their portfolio leader, does an excellent job of building community with his group. And it's the little things that he does. He will take the time into buying a card. He will take the time into, like, you have a team meeting and he's gathered feedback on his staff and be able to show them, put it on a PowerPoint and say, this is the feedback that we got, and excellent, this and this, we love working with so and so and so and so, whatever it is. But he's found little ways to tap into his staff, his team members, and really to to encourage them, because it's not that he's putting money in their pocket, but he's filling their emotional bank.
It's those feel-good moments. And a lot of times, that's all people are looking for. They're looking to feel better. They're looking for something to validate what they're doing has a certain appreciation level. I appreciate you for this. And a thank you, they said thank you and please goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Now, Dr. King, what sounds good about leadership but actually fails in practice?
I think what sounds good in leadership but fails in practice is believing that everybody believes the same thing you believe.
Mm-hmm.
We're good for shaking our head in agreement and leave the room, and we're not on the same page.
Right.
So how do you get on the same page?
I think it's through communication. It's like sometimes you have to build that one-on-one or that small group, right? Like maybe in the real estate area, okay? Going in and saying, okay, we're going to have a session, but I just want to hear what's working for you and what isn't. What's working for you and what isn't. And see if we can't, build a plan to help you move forward if you're experiencing some obstacles. I mean, people want a path forward. They just might not know how to do it. They just might not know how to put the steps together to do that.
And they typically don't do it. And I believe a lot of times what they're looking for is people looking for to know that you care about what's important to them and what's happening around them, and that ultimately you have some kind of a resource to help them get to that place. I was in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I just asked the question, and I was shocked. The question was, how many of you are meeting your goals right now? I believe one person raised their hand. So we stopped the meeting right at that point, and I just went around and asked, what can we do better to help you meet your goals? What support can we give you to help you meet your goals, or help you reach your goals, or just to get on track with your goals? And the conversation went around the room, and you could feel the lightness of the air after that conversation about just the thought of asking, what can we do to help you get to your goals? Because most people are lost in that space, and nobody ever asks, how can I help you? Most of the time, it doesn't matter whether it's W-2 or entrepreneur, most times people are asking, not what can I do for you? It's always about what can you do for me? And so we have to change that dialogue. How can I help you?
Dr. King, when we think about you have extensive history in change management. And in the world in real estate, we've gone through some significant changes in the last couple of years, significant challenges in the last couple of years. How do you create change? How do you create change that others buy into, that's not just top-down leadership? Hey, we made a new change, rally the troops. Like, how do you get buy-in?
I would start with the communication and listening session, to understand what's their perception of the change. If your perception tells you this change is super negative and it's not benefiting me, I don't see a way around it, it's going to slow me down, then that's the thing that you have to tackle. So from our seat, we have to ask the questions. You can give the information about the changes. They're laws. There's nothing that we can go back and change about that. But now I'm going to help you identify ways in which this doesn't have to be a huge obstacle for you in moving forward. I want to find out what's in your mind. What are you thinking about it? And then how can we address that? I mean, that's going to be the impetus for you being able to change perspective, because a lot of it is perspective. There's been people that maybe have been operating under the same laws, same principles, other places, and they're still doing business.
Let's stay on communication though. How did you become a good communicator?
Listening.
Fair.
Two ears and one mouth.
Yes.
2 ears and one mouth.
Because when you listen to a person and ask probing questions, you can't just listen and then you're in a hurry for them to get finished, because you already got your plan and agenda. You've got to listen with intent. And when you listen with intent and ask probing questions, so why? So why do you feel like this is an obstacle for you? Why? So the next level. Okay, so you see this commission issue as something that's going to keep you from selling more houses. Well, why is that? What is it? What is it? What is the next? And continue to probe until you are at the bottom. And then you can start going back to add in commentary to show them how to get through it. But until you understand a person's perspective and you get that information, doesn't have to be like an hour sitting there, to get it, but a few minutes of asking why. Well, why do you feel like you're struggling in this area? Well, what do you feel like you're missing? That gives you information enough to be able to help build a change plan, be able to show them options and potential for being able to move forward. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Cool. And like we've had a lot of different conversations. We talked about leadership, we talked about EQ, we talked about what I call it, timeout management.
Yeah.
We talked about communication. But here's one that we did not touch on with you. And I saw that you have a Series 6 and a Series 63 license. That sounds like some good investment information for us. So tell us what you do with those licenses. I'm curious, because I saw that. I was like, okay, tell me more.
I got the 6 and 63 when I was in North Carolina. I owned Allstate Insurance Agency, and they required us to get the 6 and 63 because we were selling mutual funds and going more into investments side of life insurance. I've gone on past that. I appreciate the days that I've had that. Yes. Past that, because I'm not doing it for somebody else under a company, but I'm more so looking at the market through trading. So the 6 and 63, it gave me some background as far as investing, things that you're required to do. But now taking my energy from that world that I was in to actually trading.
Okay, so you keep saying like you're not telling me anything though. I'm trying to like figure out, and I know somebody else is too. What does that mean, trading? And I'm past the 66. Past the 63. I'm past the 6. Give us the juicy part of it.
The juicy part of it? Okay. So the juicy part of it is understanding. So that brought me into an area where I could understand the market a little bit more. Okay. And so for me, how to make money with other people's money. That's the ship. So that shift, I'm gonna get there, Emmerich. I'm gonna get there. Just give me 1 second. I promise you, I'm gonna get there. So it took me into an area of being able to look at the market, understand charts, price action, and then move to trading, but not having to trade my own money, trade other people's money and make money. So it's prop firms, understanding prop firms in the area of Forex and futures. And that's what I've kind of moved into. So I'm not saying that the 6 and 63 was worthless. It was not worthless. But for me in this building knowledge in how to build my own wealth, sometimes we think, especially us as African Americans, we think that you've got to have a lot of money to invest in before you can start, but you really don't have to. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. The first class that I took, yes, we were trading with our own money, but then I met other individuals who were able to show me how to trade other people's money and make money. So that's what I'm talking about there.
You have this extensive knowledge and leadership in your background, but I'll tell you, you perked up and you hit a different level of enthusiasm. We're talking about this trading stuff.
Yes. I love trading. I'm a part of a community, and an analyst and a coach for a community called Advance the Kingdom. And we are a trading group. We are a group of faith-based traders. And we have been doing this YouTube spot for the last couple years. And our community is growing, but it's the ability. I get excited about it because it's not built on selling a service to somebody else. It is strictly built on when you build the skill, the sky is the limit for you. Mm-hmm. So you're not selling anything. You're not waiting for somebody to buy a book or service, but you're there to build the skill and thereby build your legacy, your wealth legacy. When we talk about that, yeah, we do include real estate, but this portion, it's an area where we have been locked out of. We have not had access or knowledge of it in the past. But it is an area that once you build a skill, you can start to accumulate wealth.
So in that space, do you take on customers? Do you take on clients, or how does one become your client in that space? How do you build your client base?
So our community is a free community.
Okay.
We get on Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 9. We do devotion on YouTube, and we start live trading. We do market commentary, and then we do live trading. Past that, I have an organization called Women Who Trade, and I do coach both men and women. And so I offer courses in that to allow people to understand the basics, start trading. We call it paper trading, where you get a demo account and you learn to trade just using this demo account until you're ready to take a challenge.
So is that open to other people? Or how does one join this group? So can you tell us how to join that group? So now you just peaked, just like you peaked up. You see, I peaked up a little bit, and
just a little
I'm pretty sure some of our listeners peaked up a little bit. So how does one join this group? How do they get involved with this group?
You can find us on YouTube at Advance Kingdom TV. And then from there, I think we also have, once you come on and you can leave a message for the founders of the group within the chat, and they'll connect with you, talk with you about your goals, what you want to do, and then bring you in from there.
Okay.
That's awesome. Now, Dr. King, as we're wrapping up, if you could give one piece of uncomfortable advice to leaders who are listening right now, what would it be?
One piece of uncomfortable advice. Again, I think it would go back to listening and drawing into the people that are in your group, your team members, your staff, to really be able to take the temperature and the pulse because, as the leader, they're going to smile when you walk by.
Yeah.
But to really get to know their triggers and what's important for them will only help you be a better leader.
I got a lot out of this. I'm excited, and I'm pretty sure our listeners were excited. And so thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.